Good morning, everyone. And once again, I owe you an apology. And the apology is that I am recording this at 8:29 instead of 9 o'clock. Regrettably, I am caught between a rock and a hard place as I am pulled in all directions for the next few days. And at 9 o'clock, I will be having to be on the road, and therefore I'm not going to be able to record it live, and I don't feel that it would do it justice to do it in the car. So despite the fact of Valechta Chavaderech, I thought we would do it early. It'll still be recorded, it'll still be up, and apologies. We will go back to the regular time next week, everyone who's joining us now, but for this week, this is the only time I can really do. I'm sorry, I'm pulled in a lot of directions. So today's learning is dedicated in memory of Leah Bas Bible, Rav Yaakov Tzvi ben David Aryeh, Sivi Bas Mordechai, Avram ben David Slavin, Sipor Bas Pegel Bas Ruven Baruch, Shalom ben Eleli, Bena Bas Bible, Frumish Shoshana Bas Yaakov Shmuel, Caleb Bela Bas Henoch, Yirmiyahu Yechiel ben Moshe Eliezer, Sam Malka Bas Binyamin, and the yortzites for today: Leah Bas Yechezkiel Bink, Chaya Bas Avram Alevi Flynn, Harav Yosef Dov ben Moshe Cohen Elevitsky, Shlomo Yitzchak ben Avram Tolbert, Chushka Bas Reb Moshe Cohen Fogel, and wish each and every one of their respective families long life and only simchas. Okay, let me just get my bearings, and then we can get on with it. Okay, so the idea is that in the limited time that we have, we want to finish off the last of the aspects, I guess, or at least touch on the last of the aspects and read from Rabbi Sachs in regards to Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying God's name. There is much, much more for us to learn and to appreciate in this regard. But let's just read one more statement that he makes. I think one question that we need to ask, and which we haven't discussed, and it would be so wonderful if we were together so we could discuss it, is Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying God's name, is it something that's outwards or something inwards? Is it something that, we did touch on this, is it something that has to be done in the public gaze in front of non-Jews? Or is it a matter of, no, even if I do and lead a full Jewish life, and no non-Jews are aware of it, is that also Kiddush Hashem? And the answer is, and I think if nothing else, it's worth us making this point today, Kiddush Hashem results when we live the life that the Almighty asked from us. He gave us a gift, entrusted us, we put the Spirit of God inside each and every one of us, that divine spark, that soul, and He wants us to bring out to that it should be manifest, that people should see wherever we walk the godliness inside us. And the more that we do that, the more that God is in the world, right? That is a sanctification of God's name, because God's name is more manifest in the world. So therefore, whether you are praying in shul, whether you are doing a social action group in Woodside Park with your non-Jewish neighbors, or whether you are just doing a project for Mitzvah Day, or even if you're just learning like we're doing now, you are doing what is asked of you, what your soul is expected to do. That's a Kiddush Hashem. Even if it doesn't matter that it doesn't make headlines, doesn't need to involve the secular world, it's as much as about inwards as outwards. And that is a very, very important point. People always think that we have to shout it from the rooftops, and if it's not in the newspapers and the non-Jewish world hasn't picked up upon it, then it cannot be a real Kiddush Hashem. Quite the opposite. For the most part, it is the way that we conduct our lives, which is beyond the eye and the gaze of the secular world or the world at large, even our Jewish neighbors. As somebody once said to me, the cosmic camera is always rolling, and that is the measure and the yardstick that we use to determine and to decide whether we are doing and living the way we are meant to. Okay, one more quote, and then we're going to move to a concept to wrap up for this short presentation. So let me just find it. 1 second. I don't think we did this one. Mark Twain, I don't need to do because we've all heard it time and again. Let's just do Tolstoy. The Jew is that sacred being who is brought down from heaven the everlasting fire and has illuminated with it the entire world. He is the religious source, spring and fountain, out of which all the rest of the peoples have drawn their beliefs and their religion. The Jew is the emblem of eternity, he whom neither slaughter nor torture of thousands of years could destroy, he whom neither fire nor sword nor inquisition was able to wipe off the face of the earth, he who was the first to produce the oracles of God, he who has been for so long the guardian of prophecy, and who has transmitted it to the rest of the world. Such a nation cannot be destroyed. The Jew as everlasting as eternity itself. The point that he makes, and which I want to pick up on, he says, he who has been for so long the guardian of prophecy, point one, and then he says, has transmitted it to the rest of the world. So the starting point, which nations around the world recognize, and we should recognize, is Kiddush Hashem starts inwardly. Eventually, it can move outwards, but it starts with us living every moment the way it was intended for us to live it to the full, okay? As Jews to the full, okay? So let me share with you an idea which was shared by an old friend in Israel who you will be interviewing soon, and he quotes from a discussion, a well-known section of Ein Yaakov, which is the Medrash is unknown. But let me quote it to you. If I was to ask you, let's see who's on the group who I can pick on. Mervyn, Caroline, Rachel, and Michael, good morning. If I was to ask you, what is the most important verse in the Torah? What is the most important, overarching, axiomatic idea, verse that you could pinpoint? So some may say loving God, some may say believe in only one God. Let's see. So there was a discussion about this. Ben Zomer said the most inclusive verse is Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. I think we all would have said that. The Lord is one, there's only God. Ben Nanas came along and he said, love your neighbor as yourself. That's the most inclusive. Shimon ben Pazi said, we have found the most inclusive verse to be, you shall offer one sacrifice in the morning, one ewe in the morning, and one ewe as a sacrifice shall you offer in the twilight. Someone stood up and said, it is Ben Pazi who is correct, as it is written, I have shown you the plan of the Mishkan and the plan of all its vessels. So this Medrash, Rav Amital pointed out, it doesn't mean to teach us that sacrifices are the most important part of the Torah, right? Because there are many verses that could have been utilized to show us that sacrifices are the most important aspect. But rather, the importance that it is showing is that it was something that was done in the morning and in the evening, day in, day out. It was a korban tamid. It was that consistency every single day. That, friends, is the mark of what it means to be Jewish. You know, it was after the Holocaust, and I'm not suggesting for a second that we could even possibly grasp the level of some of any of these people, but there was a story. They were in the DP camps afterwards, and one religious-looking young man, they asked everyone what they wanted, what they needed, and one of them went up to an American soldier with literally a fragment of a page of the Talmud, the oral tradition, and he said, I've been hanging on to this during the war, and I've been learning it every single day. I was wondering if you could give me the next section, if you can find me a Talmud so I can continue my learning. The idea of being consistent every single day. It's not about the big things. It's not about the big splash in the newspaper. We all know many of those that have made their names for themselves in the media as celebrities or for doing grand gestures. Very often later on, they suffer a fall. So the idea is, can we be consistent every single day, every second of our day? And the more consistent we are, in terms of living the lives that we are meant to, the more that we are sanctifying God's name in the world. Okay, I'm literally going to just do a memorial prayer because I have to rush, okay, because otherwise I'm going to be in big trouble. Adon Olamim Zocho Es Nishmois Rav Yosef Dobin, Moshe Cohen Elevitsky, Shlomo Yisrael Ben Avram Tolbert, Choshka Bas Moshe Cohen Vogel, Rivka Bas Mordechai Cohen, and Leah Bas Yechizkiel Bing, Chaya Bas Avram Alevi Finn, and those which are Leah Bas Fiver, Rav Yaakov Subin, David Ares, Vivos Mordechai from David Slavin, Sevar Pekilis Bas Ruben Baruch, Shalom Ben Eleli, Ben Bas Fiver from Moshe Bas Yaakov Shmuel, Kele Bela Bas Enach, Yirmiyahu Kiv, Moshe Eliezer, Ramak Bas Ben Yomin, Shalach Leman Bagan Eden, Segmenu Chasam, Lachim Belarachamim, Yasreim Beseisa Kanafavin Olamim, V'Yitzobas Rein Nishmas Amadnai, Nachlasam, Yanuch B'Shlam Mishkavam V'Namar, Amen. I'll make a refush lema afterwards. I'm afraid I have to run. For anyone, if someone can put up on the group that they started early, but they can play catch up. And please God, by next week, we should be able to find a way to have it regularly at 9 o'clock. In the meantime, I think we're going to have to do 8:30. Take care, keep safe, keep well.